If we've learned nothing else in the last month, it's that George Santos or Anthony DeValder or whatever the hell his name is has no shame. He's provided a lot of comic relief. For some reason, people find his his serial lying, his potential criminality, and dangerousness hysterical. But this guy is not a clown. He's savvy enough to have gotten himself elected to Congress in a Biden plus 10 district. Okay. So I think we need to start focusing on the very real danger he poses. And not just him as a member of Congress on committees, potentially with security clearance, but a party that allows people like Santos to serve. And let's be very honest here. Santos, who's allied himself with the worst of the worst in Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, has done so not because that's what his constituents voted for, because again, swing district, seat most recently held by a Democrat, District Biden won by a lot. It's because he knows that it is with those dangerous people that the real power resides. Having no shame is kind of a superpower. And because he is so shameless, he's not only a problem, he's an example. And just like Donald Trump before him, Santos isn't just forging a new path, he's drawing a roadmap. So in an effort to do to Matt Gaetz what the Republicans did to Madison Cawthorn, another member of the caucus who was causing too many problems for them, somebody outed Matt Gaetz as being bisexual. I personally couldn't care less about Matt Gaetz's private life. I'm much more concerned that he got away with allegedly trafficking an underage girl. Well, I guess all girls are underage across state lines. Anyway, they're trying to use this to diminish him somehow, although I'm pretty sure he'll brazen his way through it. And in the meanwhile, George Santos, another sterling member of the Republican House, has finally admitted, after tons of video evidence surfaced, that he was indeed dressed in drag while visiting Brazil a few years ago. Also, there's nothing wrong with this. What's wrong here is that elected Republicans who find themselves in a position of being outed, don't change their approach to how the party deals with LGBTQ rights. They double down on them. So we could laugh about George Santos. We can experience some kind of schadenfreude, I suppose, that Matt Gaetz has been outed, although I don't. The truth of the matter, though, is that these people are directly responsible for endangering the lives of LGBTQ people all over the country, especially transgender women of color who are murdered disproportionately because of the very dangerous rhetoric people like Gaetz and Santos not only engage in, but sanction. We've learned in the last couple of weeks that Twitter has allowed Donald Trump back on, although Donald hasn't taken Elon Musk up on the offer. And just yesterday, we heard that Meta, which owns Facebook, is letting Donald back onto Facebook. So this apparently is how you get punished for being directly responsible for the deaths of over 1 million Americans, organizing and inciting an insurrection against your own government, and stealing hundreds, thousands of classified documents, some of which endangered the national security of this country. Okay. You get allowed back on social media platforms that actually have a lot of reach and power and influence. Let's look at that in this context. There's a good possibility, I'm hoping a very good possibility, I wish it were a probability, that in the not too distant future, Donald is going to be indicted for something, at least one thing. Fani Willis, please. This is not the time to give him access to actual social media platforms where he could potentially have more reach and therefore greater influence and the ability to incite violence in retaliation for those indictments. So, you guys, I like to help Donald out whenever I can. So I want him to consider something. Donald, there is no guarantee that you will reclaim the same audiences on Facebook and Twitter that you used to have. I mean, let's face it, some of my Catterday posts on Twitter get more likes than whatever you're posting on Truth Social or Troth Central, as you prefer to call it. So before you jump back in to Facebook or Twitter, your spiritual home, I strongly suggest, that's like one of your favorite words, that you consider the potential for failure. Everybody is looking at you. And for somebody who's running for president, it would be a really bad look. So consider the downsides. First of all, going back onto Twitter or Facebook would be to admit that they're better than your very own social media platform, which would mean that you're a loser. And I mean, you cannot do better than Elon Musk, this year's biggest loser so far. So take a beat, think it over, and maybe just stick with True Social. Here to help. Fani Willis used the word imminent when discussing when she would release her decision about whether or not to bring indictments against one or many of the numerous people who have been in her sights over the last year or so. Okay, I was laboring under the delusion that imminent meant really, really, really soon. Now, again, I understand that legal time is different from normal people time. Everything takes longer in the legal world. But language is language and words are words, and they mean what they mean. So please tell me that imminent means really, really soon, which, again, for most of us, it's hours, days, please, not weeks or months. And it would be even better if we don't learn that imminent is a synonym for inshallah, because that would be too depressing to take.